It's all about peace, spreading love in the world. So I gotta represent rebels for joy, positivity. You know that we're all about it. Magic happens when you align your purpose, passion, and power. Just believe in your greatness. I know for sure the light that you radiate too strong to ignore. Emotional revolution. It's time that we start. Love, we need more. We are rebels for joy. Woo!
Hey Rebels, welcome to another episode of Rebels for Joy. I am your host, Bonnie Kelly, and I am deeply excited to bring with you Joanna Turner today. First off, hey Jo, hi gorgeous.
Hello, I'm so glad to be here.
I am too. So for those of you listening in, this is actually me and Joanna's third attempt at this podcast. And I think personally, this is exactly the season, the moment we were supposed to talk, because you're a flow coach, right? You are actually an international speaker. You were my coach. In fact, you were my coach in birthing the whole Rebel for Joy movement, right? The whole emotional revolution, which is what you, the listener, is listening to right now. Like Joe was my coach, got me out of that hustle, grit, grind, masculine energy that was so Bonnie Kelly, that was like 1.0, and into this like flowing, surrender, grace, like version of me that now trusts in all things possible. And yeah, is that a testimony or what, Joe?
I remember the moment of you were like, we're rebels for joy. That's the thing. And like, it was like this moment, and I just, I mean, it's absolutely incredible to have watched your journey and to see where you are and like what you're doing for people and how you're changing the world. And it's an honor to have worked with you and to have witnessed that, and to see it coming into fruition is just beautiful. So
it's so fun.
It's
so fun. Yeah. So you're a spiritual, you're a spiritual spiritual success mentor. Like that's like a tongue twister in my head for some reason. But not only do you help with women entrepreneurs, you just help women in general really get out of that masculine grit grind mentality that so many of us have adopted because of just globally what is expected of us, and getting into surrendering into this more divine, feminine side of ourselves that is natural, but necessarily isn't always conditioned naturally.
100%. I mean, I think, gosh, where do we start with this? Like, there's so many pieces to this puzzle. We had to, right? I'm always from a no blame, no shame. It was nobody's fault, but apart from maybe the patriarchy. But we, right? Like, I mean, right, if you go way back, women used to rule. We were the leaders and the ruling party. I mean, we birth life through our bodies, or at least you certainly have. I don't have children. But it's like we are these magical creatures, and really there was a lot of fear around the magic and the mysticism that we hold, and it was suppressed and pushed down, and we were essentially kind of tried to be caged by the patriarchy, for want of a better word. Women were persecuted for their intuition, with the witch hunts and the witch trials throughout the whole of northern Europe, and through Europe, Northern America, for hundreds of years. Hundreds of thousands of women were persecuted for being intuitive, not necessarily sitting, not necessarily like with a black pointy hat and a witch, a cauldron and a cat, but for the midwives, artists, herbalists, anyone that kind of used any of those things were hunted down, and many were killed. So it's not, we haven't suppressed it because we didn't have to, right? Like we kind of had to. And then as the sort of re-emergence happened and women started getting back into the workforce, to be taken seriously back in the day, when we started to be allowed into corporate the corporate world, corporate America, we had to go into our masculine side, like everybody, male, female, not gender or sexual orientation specific. Anyone in a body has both a masculine and feminine energetic side that we can play with. Some are just a little bit suppressed or underdeveloped. Men have a feminine side, female bodies have a masculine side. But when we get too far into one that is not our nature, our truest nature, then all sorts of things start to unfold that aren't great. Yeah. For women, it can be health issues concerning their body and especially their female organs, depression, anxiety, overwhelm, burnout, you name it, like it goes on. And so for me, you know, also in the I joined corporate life in the early 2000s, and it was just normal that I would turn up to work in a trouser suit, you know, power suit. I didn't try and dress too sexy. I often wore glasses and flat shoes. I mean, I had to wear glasses back in those days because I stared at spreadsheets so much. But I wasn't trying to look sexy. I never wore a lip in the office. Like that would have just been, I think one day I'd gone out at lunchtime and bought an orange lipstick at the makeup counter, and she'd put it on me, and I walked into the office and it was like, what happened? Like somebody is wearing lipstick. Like it was just not really accepted. I was an accountant. I wanted to be taken seriously. I wanted to advance my career. And so I played the game. You know, I still wore makeup, but it was subdued and smart, and my necklines were up here. And so we played the game. And if I'd gone into a meeting and been like, I feel like this is happening, it would have been laughed at, or my intuition's telling me that, you know, these people aren't doing the right thing over in, you know, the other division or whatever, right? It would have been laughed at. So we were really trained out of it. And when I quit my, you know, career in finance, I was in finance 13 years, 17 if you include my degree. I had been so trained to think, and that's how I was compensated too, right? Like I was paid to think, I was not paid to feel. That was not good. So paid to think, and ironic, and I got burnt out. I had done the hustle and worked the long hours, and like many people, I'd burnt out. I was exhausted, couldn't think. Quit my job, started a wellness business, which has turned into what it is today. But the irony in all of that is that I'd started to figure out, but I'd brought that same mentality and the same work ethic of working really hard and thinking and being smart and hustling. I brought that into my online business. Mm-hmm. And while I had a renewed passion, which gave me energy and excitement, it wasn't sustainable. And I actually couldn't continue growing my online business from that same hustle energy and the pushing analytical planning stuff and ignoring my other side. It just wasn't, I had burnt out in my dream job. I'd created my dream life and I burnt out in my dream life. I was like, like I don't have any options. Like, you know what? We want to make this work, right? Like you're here for the long term. Yeah. I don't have a plan B either. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And so big, so powerful, Jo, because I can say this, you know, as I entered into the online world as well, I brought in that masculine energy, and in so many different elements of my life, even in my personal intimate relationships, I was emasculating my partner because I was just standing so firmly in this masculine energy that was about control, that was about, you know, this get it done or else. Like it was very heavy in the thought, not heavy in the heart, not heavy in the intuition, not being vulnerable, not being nurturing. You know, it was just like, well, you're just going to have to suck it up and do it, right? Suck it up, buttercup, was kind of like that mentality. And based on my history, like I understand where I've adopted that survival mentality, but in the workforce is where it really played out for myself as well. Like I got into real estate. I became very successful in real estate. And that is a very masculine driven like it feeds into a lot of this like arrogant mentality. And I'm not saying if you're listening, you're a realtor, I'm not calling you that by any means, but I'm just saying that my experience around it, there was a lot of ego. that was playing out. And it was very heavy into this like 60, 80 hour a week and being on top and like beating out your competitors and being the best and all of these different dimensions that were feeding into this like pantsuit, turtleneck wearing, woman that was completely detached from her intuition and her heart. And when I entered into this same business, I was entering it in, the same mentality, Joe. Like I found myself controlling so many different dimensions of it and trying to be the person I expected everyone wanted me to be, but completely detached from the person that I knew that I was capable of being.
That's such a powerful realization. And that's it. And again, it's because that was the industry you were in and you adapted to that and you did really well. And there's nothing wrong with all of that. There's nothing wrong with somebody who is hustling in their business and they're having some success. And none of this is about completely getting rid of the hard work or not working, right? That's not what this is about. But it's a way of working smarter instead of harder. It's for me, when I allow myself to access both sides, like I still need my masculine, get things done, plan, move the needle forward part. But when I believe, and what I've discovered with my clients and obviously with my self, when I've been most successful, when things have moved, like in my sort of my mini viral things, like when I get a lot of attention, a lot of comments, a lot of downloads on things, it's when the idea has come from a beautiful, inspired place. And then, and it's come when I'm not in my head. I'm usually, out for a walk, in the shower, on the toilet, meditating. It's very rare that the inspired idea comes when I'm at my laptop, like, how am I going to make money next? Right? That's not how that's not where the inspiration comes from. That's not where these beautiful downloads come from. So it's often when I least expect it. Sometimes it's when I'm putting my makeup on, I'm like, ding, because I'm not in my head. And that's where the magic happens. But for me, and when, like yourself as well, when we've been so disconnected from our bodies, all the thinking disconnects us. It's hard to be still or out of our heads long enough to let that come through. Yeah. And I think it's one of the biggest challenges, and I've had it myself, and sometimes I still do, is like, how do we allow ourselves enough space to have that? And people, like, you're a mom and you're super busy, and like I have a fur baby who keeps me busy, but like, where do we allow ourselves to find the space and the time to let those ideas come through, to let our intuition speak to us? Yeah. And I think that's actually one of the gifts. We're re-recording this in the first week of April, or second week of April. Mm-hmm. We're in the middle of this world pandemic crisis mode. I have a lot of opinions on that. I don't think that's for this podcast, but it's giving us this world global stop, right? And I think that's, there's a gift in everything. It doesn't mean everything's amazing or that we want it to happen. I'm certainly not excited by the whole thing. Like, it's people are sick and are dying and are massively inconvenienced, and there is a financial fallout that's going to affect us, I think, for many years. And I'm not excited about those parts. I'm not excited that I don't get to have a hug for however long. I don't even know when I'll next get a hug, from a human, which is one of the scariest things for me, actually, at the moment. Mm-hmm. I'm like, is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Like, I don't know. So while I'm not excited about that, I am excited about the pause. It's causing, in one of the tools I practice with is NLP, and we call it pattern interrupt, right? So when we're in that frantic, busy, go, take the kids here, run here, do that, work our asses off, yada, yada, our weekends are planned out, we're seeing the parents and the things and our friends and everything, there's no time to stop. And for me, back in the day, I had a back injury 6 years ago, and that was my full stop. And I feel like it slowed me down enough to breathe, to think, to reassess. Am I happy in my job? No. And it stopped me doing all the things that kept me super busy, right? I was an extreme exerciser. And so that kept me super busy too. So I just couldn't do anything with this back injury, and it just slowed everything down. And so I feel like, and some people get sick to have their full stop, right?
Yeah.
Some people end up in an accident. Some people, different things make people stop. And often when you go back and you ask somebody, hey, when they got sick, they'll often tell you it's the best thing that ever happened to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't mean it's a good thing to get sick, but sometimes it's the wake up call that we need. And so I do believe that this is going to act as a global wake up call. And we're in a mass awakening. So people, while they might not end up tapping into the crazy spirituality practices I enjoy, they're going to be reassessing their lives. And whether it's people that are now working from home and can do that more, or haven't seen their kids, or maybe they're reassessing their marriage, or even in their businesses. And a lot of amazing businesses locally where I live in Australia are adapting, they're going online. My sister, who I have been trying to get to go online for as long as I've known there's been an online industry, who she's just resisted and said no and no and no. And she has a young, a 2-year-old. And I've desperately wanted her to do online, but she couldn't either see the opportunity or was so attached to the physical of showing up. She's a personal trainer. So she runs boot camps and one-on-one in a gym and is incredible at what she does. But she's adapting. She's going online.
So awesome.
She's had loads of new clients. She's screenshotting me like pictures of these checks that she's received recently. People are paying upfront for months and months of her work. Her husband's been furloughed in his work, so he's still getting paid, thank goodness, but at a reduced rate. And she's just adapting, and it's just wonderful. Like, I'm so excited. And I was like, oh, what if you get your boot campers into an online boot camp? And she's like, oh, that's a great idea. So, and people are reaching out to her. And so for me, like, it's giving people like her this beautiful opportunity to come online. It's giving us online people who predominantly work online, a beautiful opportunity to show up and do what we do and help guide others, because we've been doing it for years. And also, I think we've been doing the work, Bonnie, to be ready for this, right? Like, you've been doing your deep inner work and self-reflection for many years, I don't know, 10 years plus.
Yeah.
And as have I. And like, it took us a bit longer, right? And the beautiful thing is, these people waking up now, it takes them like 2 months and they're like at the same level as us, right? It took us 10 years to get here. But these beautiful shifts are happening. So I think we're here. I think we've done this. We've gone through a whole bunch of stuff a little bit early, not that it makes it better, right, wrong, or anything else. But
it allows us to be the light workers, the light leaders, like in the front of the pack, that says, hey, I know this is scary. It's dark, it's heavy, and we're right here. We've been in that darkness and we've been able to find our way out. I know the back way. Let's go together. I'll hold your hand. And so I do believe that it is, like I always say, like with my history, right? So being a child of sexual abuse, it is something that I would never wish upon my worst enemies, but yet it was one of the greatest awakenings that I've ever received. One of the greatest gifts in catapulting me on a path that I would never have taken if not for that darkness. Right? If not for that pain, I wouldn't have taken that path. So though I would never wish it, I'll say it again, upon anyone for any reason, for anything, because that is just not okay. It's not okay in my book. But for me, because that was a part of my story, it was written into my story, that I have found this joy beyond it, and I found my way out of that dark hole. And I think that this is what this season is as well. It is a call, it's an awakening for us to stop ignoring our shit, if I could say so, right? It's for us to stop, hiding behind busy, hiding behind control, hiding behind work, hiding behind pretending, and it's forcing us all to be in this state of silence, being quiet. And all of our crap is coming to the surface. It's all bubbling up. And what a beautiful gift and what a beautiful opportunity that the world has said, hey, I got nothing for you to do. Why don't you deal with that right now?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, I mean, it's interesting, like I've seen quite a difference, again, not better or anything, of the people that have done the inner work and how they're rolling with this and adapting, and how people maybe who haven't done so much and how much fear that they are living in. A lot of the inner work that I have done in my own body and journey, and you have, is about releasing the fear and allowing ourselves, because if we're trying to control everything, then we're not trusting in something. And I think this is the piece for me, was when I was trying to control everything, it's like I didn't trust anything or anyone else. And so for me, my journey has really been about trusting and to be in flow, and to be surrendering into every moment, and not in resistance of what is. I've had to find a trust in something, and it's faith for people in different ways, right? Just to trust that we'll be okay, or that we'll be able to come out the other side, or that there will even be an other side.
Yes.
And people, like you said, like you had your survival instinct kick in young, and it's bringing a lot of that stuff up for people, even ancestral traumas around being restricted, like from world wars, and having restricted food or access. Like I had to have paperwork to cross the border into the other state just on the weekend, because I had an appointment on the other side of the border, about 100 meters on the other side of the border. But I'm going through police road checks with my paperwork, hoping that my medical appointment is okay by them to let me pass through the police checks. So it's, and you know, even though I'm like done so much spiritual work, there was still a wave of, I mean, there was a little bit of, oh, I'm living on the edge, but there was a wave of fear there, right? Like a wave of
and that's natural.
Yeah, like it was just, there was still a wave of fear, and I still went and prepared myself, right? I wasn't panic buying, but I was like, okay, how if this does go down? What a single woman who's got nobody else looking out for them, what do I need? Like, let me go prepare for that. I don't want to be so blasé that I'm like, oh, everything's just fine, I believe in love and light. I'm like, no, I'm going to go and get at least 10 days water supply and toilet roll, and you know, I'm not panic buying, but I'm also like, okay, what else might I need if I didn't have access to these things? Flashlight, great, you know. And so I did that, but I was very consciously not doing it from a place of panic. Yeah. I waited a few days. I didn't go in the first rush. I didn't also want to be in that public panic energy, right? Like that was, for me, it's a little bit hectic. And so I'm like, I'll just wait until past the weekend. And I went on the Monday or Tuesday after that kind of key weekend where everyone went nuts. And I was like, that's okay. Like I'm going to be okay this weekend. I'll let all that happen. And then I'll go in. And interestingly, it was funny because all the healthy gluten-free stuff was still there.
It's all the chicken nuggets.
No bread. And then there was a whole section of gluten-free bread. And I was like, so great. Same with the freezer section. Nothing in the freezer section. The whole gluten-free section was still there. I was like, la, la, la. This is awesome.
That's funny. Yeah. But I mean, that fear, I feel like we have to just pause here for a second, because that fear is so natural. You know, even for myself, like, you know, I heard about the corona, I heard about the craze, I wasn't tapping into it, wasn't really thinking, you know, I was just kind of keeping the flow in my own zone, right? Like I was staying in my lane. And what I started realizing, I was like, all these events start canceling that I'm supposed to speak at, I'm supposed to go to. And so like, maybe there's something here I'm supposed to pay attention to. And all these schools start canceling. I'm like, oh, I better tap in. And so when I tapped into that collective energy, Joanna, I'm not even kidding. Like it gave me such anxiety and panic, and I could feel my sisters and brothers. I can feel just how scared everyone was. And you can't help but not feel that. and then you go to the grocery store and, like you said, everything cleared out, right? And you're just like, oh my gosh, 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 I can't get my basic needs. Oh my gosh, right? So it kind of catapults you back into that state. And I think what is important here is that, for you and I, we made a conscious choice to really have to clear that, unhook from that, and then get back into this place where we are trusting. We do believe that something great can emerge from this, and we're beginning to lead from that place. And I mean, if anybody's following me online, I mean, you can't help but see me constantly showing up and leading the charge for this inner peace, for this inner joy, for us to take emotional responsibility to utilize this time. And I know you're doing the same. We're showing up, and it's because that we tapped into it, and we're also consciously choosing now to say, okay, where do I need to be instead? And then really sinking into that feminine divine energy of recognizing that the stillness is necessary, and helping people start to become calm and comfortable in that stillness as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that perspective. And yeah, it's so beautiful to see you show up like that. And but the thing as well is, like, one of the most important things we can be doing for our health and well-being, one of them is grounding. And really being grounded. So for people, I know we're in that sort of spring, we're coming into autumn, is to get your feet on the ground. I know I often say that, and people in the US are like, there's 3 feet of snow, what do you expect me to do? But I'm like, that's okay. So for me, it's the beach, in the water, on the grass. But you don't have to be also outside. You could hug a tree. It's always an option. Ask for permission first. But you can also do lots of beautiful grounding meditation. There's beautiful grounding essential oils. So there's lots of different ways you can ground your energy. Imagining the sort of tree branches coming out of your feet, breathing deeply into your body. Our breath is really important at the moment. So it's all of the things that are just bringing you back into your body and into stillness, are some of the most important things you could be doing anyway for your health. And so it's just a really beautiful time to come back to that as well. There's been some beautiful global meditations happening where we're really seeing a shift, and we're making a difference, which is really nice to see as well. But I felt that collective stuff as well. I think as a very sensitive to energies and empathic person, there was a day I was just sitting and I just felt this wave hit me, and I just burst into tears, and I was like, I wasn't even thinking about anything. Like, it just kind of just smacked me and I burst into tears. I was like, whoa, what was that? So, it's also, it's good. It's normal. Feel it. I think this is the thing is, like, people are like, they don't often know what to do if that happens. We're so used to using all the things, the busyness and wine and the chocolate and all the things to distract us. It's like, what the hell do I do? Right. And so at this time, like for me, feeling it is the key, right? Letting it run its course without judging whatever is coming up. If there is a fear, if there is a sadness, there's also a lot of grief going around at the moment. And so allowing us to, so interestingly, the virus, I'm using what do you call
air
these?
Quotes.
Air quotes. Because I have a different understanding of it, but it is, whatever is happening is affecting people's lungs, and lungs is, in our body is where we hold grief. And so there is a lot of heaviness and a lot of grief happening at the moment. So again, like the breathing, and if you feel sad, feel it, cry, like allow it to run through your body. It's not just like, oh, Bonnie said everything will be fine, so I'm just going to be positive. No, feel it. Yeah. Allow it to be, to be in, and it doesn't have, you don't have to understand it. You don't have to
rationalize it,
what it's about, none of that. And you can just let yourself feel that sadness and feel for a lot of, I live alone with my dog, but like there's a couple of waves of loneliness have come over, and I'm like, hey, I can handle this for a couple of weeks. I'm pretty strong. Maybe I'm at 3.5 weeks at the moment. I'm like, I'm good. But I'm like, 6 months, you'll be testing my mental health. Like,
me too.
You know, like, right? And you've got humans to hug, right? So
yes.
you know, like that hit me quite hard. I was like, oh, okay, breathe. Like, so feel it. Journaling is amazing. Just like writing whatever is coming up, like, hey, I feel sad, I feel grief. Sometimes when I have something come up, because obviously it still happens, I'm just like, what are these emotions? And sometimes I'll just write a list and like sad, pissed off, angry, disappointed, like, and I write them out. I feel it, but I sort of, sometimes I'll acknowledge even what I'm feeling by writing it out. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is what I feel. And I feel it feels quite validating sometimes to just write out like my grievance or how I'm feeling. And just, what is the sadness and the loneliness? And there's meditation at the moment is amazing if you can. But when we hold a lot of trauma in our bodies and we are super busy, sometimes stopping to meditate is hard. It's challenging. It feels difficult because things come up when we do that. And I've experienced that a lot. And I love Joe Dispenza and his meditations. And he's like, your body is going to want to run away. Your body doesn't want to sit and meditate. Your body thinks it's going to die when you sit and meditate. And the longer that we can hold ourselves through that, like your legs bouncing, you're wondering about lunch, you're like, oh, like we have all these other things going on, but the longer we can sort of hold ourselves in it, the better. And that's where I love like guided meditations and things that kind of give me something to do. I'm quiet, but I'm not just fighting myself constantly. So things like that are brilliant. If you are feeling anxiety, like tapping and EFT are great ways to just help reduce your anxiety. There's loads again of videos on YouTube. Even just a simple tap like on your chest is really good. It almost feels like you're giving yourself a hug. So there's some really simple things you can do to just help process that stuff through, right? Knowing that it's totally normal, there's nothing wrong with it. And if you do allow yourself to feel it, know that it will stop.
I think that's temporary. Yes.
It's the other fear. It's like, well, shit, if I take the lid off this, will it ever stop? And the answer is yes. Like a wave of it might come back again another time, but that wave will run its course. And it's important. So there's some just super simple things, and obviously the better we can be treating our bodies, and like, I'm doing a morning green juice and things like that, like just to sort of again just looking after myself as much as possible. And the other thing I'm really hot on at the moment, Polly, is and again, I'm not going to ask anybody to necessarily change their opinion, but at the moment as well, there is a lot of 5G happening. 5G is the sort of next generation of
Wi-Fi, TV, for your phone, all that stuff.
Stuff, which I'm massively against personally, just because of the effects it has on our health. I do believe there's a link to the virus, but that's my own personal opinion, and I'm still self-isolating and washing my hands, even though I do believe it's got more to do with the 5G happening. So again, you can just Google, you can reach out and I'll send you some videos if anybody wants that. Message me on Instagram. But it's I know it's a little bit out there for some people, but regardless of whether you think they're linked or not or whatever, allowing protecting yourself from EMFs and this next wave, if it happens, and if you can, email your council and call all the people, even better. But I do believe your president passed a bill about a week ago allowing Elon Musk to launch something like 1 million land-based receptors or something, sneak that one through during all this stuff. Turn off your Wi-Fi at night. Put your phone in airplane mode, and just try and it's
Unplug.
part of the grounding. It's getting out into nature, those kind of things, if you're allowed to. But turn off that shit at night.
Mm-hmm.
Turn it off, and just try and limit your exposure that way if you can.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole host of other things you can do as well, but they're the sort of simple, easy ones that just allow you things. And it is a bit of a pain in the neck because you have to turn it on in the morning. But
you can actually, most phones will actually, there's an automatic setting to completely go into the dark at night and then wake it up in the morning. So there should be, if you have an iPhone, there's an automatic setting for that to shut it down and turn itself back on during the morning. So
I do.
I think this is
switch the Wi-Fi off at the wall though. So
gotcha.
So no, like there's no. I mean, obviously the next door neighbors won't be and whatever, but in my house it's off.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And I mean, I've heard quite a few things about, just unplugging from just, the magnetic fields and, all of the electro stimulation that we're receiving and what impact that has on our neurological cells as well. There's just now starting to become a lot of research around on that as well, which I think is really fascinating too, Joe. So this is great. This is so powerful for people to sink into, because in this season that we're in, and, when this airs, hopefully we're all like out of quarantine. However, I'm not sure. I mean, this is the reality of this might be our new norm for quite a while. And so I agree that this is the season for us to sink within, to meditate, to allow those emotions, whatever they are, like however painful they are, to sit with them and to go through them instead of ignoring them and distracting ourselves and numbing out or trying to control them, rather to just really feel them, recognizing that they are serving a purpose, that they're there on purpose, and that we can move and flow through those if we just surrender. We surrender into them. We just release the need to try to fix it or to control it, and really rather just allow that, like our intuitions, to start to guide us into why and what's and how's of every aspect of it. So Joe, this is so powerful, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you bringing this for our audience, because we need it.
Yeah, and I think the other beautiful thing is people are coming together in community and supporting each other and doing calls like this and going on to group Zoom calls, and that's what we need as well. And that's the other, I think, beautiful thing that's coming out of this, is people are knowing their neighbors, and that's really nice, and everybody is supporting their local businesses, and so I think that's the other beautiful thing that's coming out of this. So.
I agree with you. Well, if everybody wants to get a hold of you, like, what do you have coming up? Where can they find you? Let's point them into a direction. I know you're on Instagram, like you're one of my favorite IGs to follow, but where else?
If you like dogs and beaches, come follow my Instagram. So I'm on Instagram, joanna.a.turner. Facebook, my website, joannaturner.com. But at the moment I'm focusing on the Akashic Records, which is a beautiful healing tool, which just helps people navigate and understand what's going on and really deepen their intuition and that understanding. So that's a big focus at the moment. And I work with people one-on-one and have business mastermind as well. So guiding their business and their life through all this.
From hustle to flow.
That's it.
That's it, right? And so it's really powerful because it can give you some good breakdowns, you guys. It was such a fun year to work with you, to work with your mastermind, and with all my new Rebel sisters I've got out there as a result, that we continue to support. You've seen it. Like Janine Howard had me in her magazine. We've had Portia and I work together on projects. We've got all of these beautiful, powerful women all over the world that just still stay together as a result of some of the work we've done with you, which is wonderful.
Love that. Yeah, that makes me very happy.
Yeah, well, wonderful. Well, Rebels, hopefully you got a lot out of this episode. Hopefully you're going to find your peace and your flow right now and right here. Remember, if there's anything that we can do to serve you, that we are here as your Rebel leaders and your guides. You can find us anytime at rebelsforjoy.com, and everything Joanna Turner is right here below in the comment section. So make sure to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss a beat, and I can't wait to see you on the next show.